If you want to know what's going on in Rockingham County government, check out Rockingham County 411. If you're interested in county governmental programs, projects, and services, don't miss Rockingham County 411. Public Information Officer Mabel Scott will share important, crucial news you can use with Rockingham County 411.
Rockingham County 411, you're in a good place because here at Rockingham County government, we have a great finance department, and today we're going to be talking to the Deputy Finance Officer, Justin Thacker. Thank you so much, Justin, for being with us.
Thank you, Mabel, for having me.
When I think of finance, I think of money, money, money. Tell us what you all do.
So in the finance department, our job duties require us to provide accounting and financial management in accordance with North Carolina general statutes. We operate under the Dillon's Rule in the state of North Carolina, which says that our ability to operate, local government's ability to operate in general, is granted by North Carolina general statutes. So basically, if there's not a general statute that says we can do X, Y, and Z, then we can't do it. So there needs to be a general statute that tells us what to do. Every department, economic development, tax, has general statutes dedicated to their department that tell them what they can and can't do. Okay. So our specific statute that relates to finance that gives us our duties of what we're supposed to do and follow is General Statute 159, the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. You can Google that and you can read it in about 40 minutes. It's a short read, so you can understand the laws that we're required to do. It tells us to follow generally accepted accounting principles, and that's what we're charged to do. There are 4 key positions that determine what we do in local government, that give us our direction and guidance, and that are outlined in this Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. The first is the Board of Commissioners. Obviously, they have supreme power of the financial management of the county. You have the budget officer. In Rockingham County, we have the counselor manager form of government, which says that the budget officer is the county manager, which is Lance Metzl. It also outlines the duties of the finance officer, which is Pat Galloway of the county. And it also lists another organization, the LGC, which is the Local Government Commission. The Local Government Commission is kind of like our parents. We report financial information to them throughout the year. And they kind of oversee us, and if we get out of line, they'll send a letter to the commissioners. One unique thing about the Local Government Commission is they do have the power to take the commissioner's role and be fully vested with the powers. That's in rare instances that has happened, but if the county were to get into financial trouble, they do have that power. That organization too was set up back, I think, when the Great Depression and stuff. This act created this so that it would protect governments from failing. There were so many local governments that failed from poor financial management that they created this organization, North Carolina, to oversee us. And it's unique because I think North Carolina is probably the only one that has a commission like that. So the duties that are outlined in the finance officer role that we're required to in our office is we manage the receipt and deposit of funds. Every day, departments, usually around 4 o'clock, will bring their funds that they've collected for their respective departments. Some bring the next day before 9 o'clock, and we are charged in General Statute 159 to make a daily deposit. The tax department also makes a daily deposit because they account for roughly half our general fund revenues. A big chunk of our revenues comes in tax, ad valorem taxes, property taxes. So they actually perform a separate deposit from the finance department. We also manage cash and investments for the county. A big duty is to, moving around cash and investments. You want to make, the most money you can for your investments. With the local government budget, it details what we can and can't invest in. So General Statute 159.30 tells us the different types of investment securities that we can do and the different types of banks that we can put local government dollars in. One example is we can't put money into any kind of credit unions. So a lot of times citizens ask us why we can't put in like the state employees credit union or a higher interest rate. We're not allowed to put local government funds in to the state employees credit union. One thing with COVID, with investments, we'll talk a little bit more about that. January 2020, first part of the year, we were earning a little over $110,000 in investments, interest income with our investments. This past July, we only accrued about $41,000 in interest
Oh
income.
my goodness.
So COVID is definitely, the finance officer is primarily the one involved in investments, and a lot of them got called when COVID started hitting and the interest rates started tumbling. So COVID has definitely impacted our investment revenues for the county. Another thing that we do is ensure purchases are in compliance with the budget and issue purchase orders. Amanda Crumpler, who handles that for the purchasing agency. So we won't talk too much about that because you're doing another interview of her about that, but just know that we do have that as part of our duties as a finance office. Another part of our duties is issue and manage long-term debt. One thing unique about counties in North Carolina is that we're required to carry the debt on all school buildings. So anytime you see a new school building being built, the debt is being through the county.
Okay.
And the LGC oversees all debt issued. We actually have to get approval by them. Like I said, they're our parents. So there's a long, lengthy process that you have to go through to get debt approved and issued, and it's through the LGC. They also, every March, send a notice to the finance officer of the debt that's outstanding for the county and the payments they have to make. And usually each month we have to email them before a debt payment is to be paid and let them know the check number or the wire date and everything. And so we have to let them know that we are making a payment for that date that we're supposed to.
That is like a parent.
Yes. So, but the intent is that we won't default on any loans and get in trouble with the debt. Another part of our duty is to issue an annual comprehensive annual financial report.
Yes.
That usually, we actually start that in about June and it goes through about December when it's finally issued. The county has a very good track record in winning the GFOA award in financial reporting. And if we win it this year, I think this will be the 30th year in a row. Why it's a big deal is because it saves us when we go in the debt market, so we can get better interest rates and it looks better to the financial people. And the last thing we do is we prepare a number of other financial and cost reports throughout the year for the county. One particular that relates to the LGC is each July and January we report the cash balances and the investments to the LGC, and they review it to make sure that we're in compliance with that general statute. And if they see anything wrong, they will write us a note and let us know, hey, you need to get this money out of this investment, or you need to get this money out of this bank because it's not legally acceptable.
That's a lot of work, and we appreciate what you all do. That just seems like, how many people do you have? I mean, to get all of this done. Tell us about the staff.
Yes, so we have a staff of 8 people. 2 are accounting technicians, and their primary roles in the office is to handle accounts payable, the daily deposit. They usually switch off. One will do it one week, the other will do it another week. And then they also handle the landfill billing at the landfill for the customers that have charge accounts at the landfill. They process anywhere from 170 to 300 checks a week, and they process anywhere from between, those checks can equate anywhere from 250 invoices to 400 invoices that they review to make sure that's in compliance with all the policies and procedures of the county. We also have a payroll administrator and a payroll technician. They actually process payroll every other week, bi-weekly payrolls. The approximate number of employees they do is about 712 direct deposits every 2 weeks that they do.
We want that to happen.
Yes, a lot of employees are happy when those days come around.
Yes.
Usually around election time, though, it spikes to about 1,000 in some direct deposits because we have a lot of temporary election workers, so it just varies sometimes. And usually the amount of money that they're reviewing, this is federal withholdings, state withholdings, deductions, garnishments, all that kind of stuff. It's usually over $1 million that they're reviewing every 2 weeks when they're processing payroll. We also have an accountant specialist who reviews credit cards, revenue. She handles journal entries, budget amendments. We have close to 2,800 journal entries a year and about 500 budget amendments a year that she reviews and posts. She also handles, she's also a backup for accounts payable. She's done that type of work and kind of all the journal entries and advanced work in accounting. She handles that. We have a purchasing agency, which she handles all the purchase orders and the purchasing laws and works with departments to make sure they're in compliance with that. And we also have a finance director and deputy finance director. Our primary, we all work for the finance director who, displays our duties.
Pat Galloway.
Yes, Pat Galloway. And, you know, my duty as a deputy finance officer is kind of oversee the day-to-day operations and, you know, make sure everything's running.
So in order to get all of this done and to stay in compliance, this is a lot of expertise. Tell us about the training involved and the background of some of the people on the team.
Well, training's a big part of our job. You know, laws are constantly changing in the finance profession.
Yes.
There's numerous laws and regulations just in payroll in general. You know, even with COVID, we've had several new payroll codes and, you know, laws that are coming out that we have to implement. So, you know, staying informed about law changes and, you know, knowing the rules and regulations of what we can and can't do is a big part of our job. So I think that we're unique, especially for a rural county, that we have at least one person that has 5 of the top certifications in our profession that I would say across the state. And our finance director, and those are, the finance director is a certified public accountant, so she's the CPA.
Mm-hmm.
We have a certified payroll professional, which is Debbie, and the payroll administrator. Mm-hmm. And that's actually unique, and that is actually in the private sector, but they do have a section that covers local government, and she knows both private and public sector payrolls, which is unique in passing all those tests. We have North Carolina Certified Local Government Purchasing Officer, which is our purchasing agent, so she'll talk to you more about that. And I am a North Carolina Certified Local Government Finance Officer and a North Carolina Certified Budget and Evaluation Officer. So all of these certifications require extensive on-the-job training.
Yes.
They require a lot of classes, especially through UNC School of Government, or in Debbie's case, it was actually through a national organization. And they also require continuing eds classes to keep those certifications, and they actually require tests. You have to pass tests. So they are a very lengthy process. It takes years to to get these certifications.
And we're very proud of the hard work that you all have done.
Yes, and we do have, and we're pushing other staff members to get it too. So I know the accounting specialist is working on the finance officer certification, and we got another one working on payroll certification.
That's good. That's good. Tell us about the policies.
So everything that we do is predicated on policies and procedures. When the auditors come in here to audit us, they are looking to see, did we follow the procedures that were adopted by the Board of Commissioners and the county manager. We have several policies. The finance policy was just recently updated in 2018. It covers all the procedures in accounts payable, payroll, everything that we do, journal entries, budget amendments, purchasing, all the types of stuff that we do in finance. Recently, we had a debt policy passed by the Board of Commissioners. We was talking about debt a little bit earlier. Counties or any local government in the state of North Carolina they have a debt limit. They can't borrow more money than a certain amount. And that money is 8% of the total appraised property values within the jurisdiction. So in Rockingham County, that roughly equates to about $611 million that we could potentially, be in debt. The commissioners took it a step further in this debt policy because you can make policies that are more restrictive than what the state says. And currently that's 3%. We cannot have total debt for this county above 3% of the total appraised property value subject to taxation in the county. We're nowhere near that. Our debt right now is around $53 million. So we're nowhere close to the debt limit, which just speaks to our financial management of the county. We also have a fund balance policy. Do you know what fund balance is?
Oh, yes.
That's your savings account.
Yes.
So we have a policy on that. The LGC, there's not a state law that says how much local, how much fund balance that you should have, but they do recommend 8%, and basically that represents one month's expenditures of the county.
So if anything should happen, we will be prepared.
Yes.
A flood, a tornado.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that's another part of fund balances for emergency needs or anything. But basically, you can go down 8%, but it's not recommended because that's pretty much when the LGC is going to start talking to you if you get down to 8%. Our county board and our fund balance policy says that we're to have at least a 16% fund balance, and we can't spend anything unless it's above 18%. So they usually the commissioners will get when we present the CAFR to the commissioners, they'll get a number of how much fund balance is above 18%, and that's what they could use to spend during the year for any other budget, items that we have that operating revenues won't cover.
And the commissioners want to be cautious.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And typically most of the counties like to stay at least 16%, if you can. So, and I think we don't have the audited statements yet for June 30th of this year, but I think we were well over 18% last year, in the 20% range. Because
they have said we are going to be good stewards of your money.
Yes. And being prepared too, so that's a good. We also have an investment policy. Like I said, the governing board can, that's one of their jobs as financial management, is to tell us which investments they can go in. I know in all these three policies, the debt policy, fund balance, and investment, were just recently adopted. In the investment policy, they tell us, how much money we can have in commercial paper, which is one of the items that we're able to invest in according to the General Statute 159. And most of our investments, just for the public knowledge, is in commercial paper with the highest rating from the credit agencies, and then also from U.S. agencies. So that's part of the the investment policy is safety and liquidity. So you don't want to lose. We're also not allowed to invest in stocks. So that's a law that you cannot invest in stocks. The only mutual fund that we're allowed to participate in is the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, and pretty much every local government participates in them. We also have a travel policy. The biggest thing to know about that is, no county employee can go on any travel outside the county without pre-authorization. That form outlines the cost of that trip, and we review it in finance office and I sign it off. If you go outside the state, it requires county manager approval, and he has to sign off on it as well. So just for public knowledge, the travel is very restricted here in the county, and it's very scrutinized to make sure that we're spending the least amount that we have to. We also have a pool vehicle policy that oversees the vehicles that we purchase for finance. We typically, rather than paying mileage out to the employees, we have them drive a county vehicle. It saves taxpayer dollars. And we have a credit card policy with newly implemented credit cards that we have across the county. All these policies, we can't talk about them in 15 minutes, can be found on the county website. So if you go to the finance department's website, you can find them under the finance policy section.
And then, of course, you earlier talked about the audit every year, and we're always happy to hear clean audit, everything is the way it should be.
Yes, ma'am. We're required to have an annual independent audit, as outlined in that. Like I said, it all goes back to that Local Government Budget Fiscal Control Act that requires us to have an audit. The auditors work for the Board of Commissioners. They don't work for us. They work for the Board of Commissioners. Their contract and the selection of auditors is picked by the county commissioners. Our current accounting firm is Elliott Davis. They're out of Raleigh. We've had them the last couple of years. They do our audit. We do have Rick Rouse, who does the airport audit, because they're a component unit of it. I know a lot of times, especially in Citizens Academy, we get questioned why we can't get a local accounting firm to do our audit. And the simple answer is we're complex. It takes a great number of people and time and cost to come audit our books, and most of them don't, even when we put out an RFP, they don't bid on it because they don't have the staff and the capabilities to do it.
Yeah.
Typically, they come out twice a year. They come out in June, the auditors do, and they come out in August. They actually were supposed to come next week. But this year is actually very unique, where we're doing everything online. We've actually had Zoom and Microsoft meetings where we've actually held documents so they can verify signatures online. So they usually send 6 people, and then, like I said, they work on it at least those 2 weeks they're on site, and then they pretty much work with us to December until the CAFR is issued. So it takes a lot of time and effort, and even across the departments, we request information. Even from you, we get news articles to do in our CAFR. So it requires a lot of time and effort. So
checks and balances.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Projects. I know you all have been busy with some new projects.
Yeah, recently we went from the old, green screen 20-year-old accounting system to Windows-based accounting system, One Solution, in 2014. And we recently went live with the payroll module, which was kind of our, holding us back to getting fully operational in that. And we went live in that around November 2018. So that was a big, we're in a new modern, Windows-based accounting system.
Technology.
Yes. We also had credit cards went live in 2019 for the outside departments other than the tax department. Tax department already had credit card revenues through a separate vendor. But we were able to get a contract with Jimenez, and they provide credit cards. We're now able to take credit cards to the landfill, Central Permanent and Community Development Department, Animal Shelter, the Sheriff's Department, and Public Health. So our accountant specialist kind of oversees, make sure they get, the revenues get credited to the appropriate department in regards to that. And the last thing was we were looking towards e-payables and eliminating checks, where we directly wire the money to our vendors. And that would be good for the county in that we were looking at getting rebates, like when you get credit cards, you get cash back.
Yes, we know what that means.
Right before COVID hit, we were having meetings with the banks, and the projections were anywhere from 50 to 150,000 in rebates for the county. But COVID hit, and it's kind of stalled that project out for right now. But that is in the works to eliminate as many checks as we can, because checks are costly. You have postage and mailing and paperwork.
Extra steps. That's time.
Yes, ma'am.
That's time. I think that the people watching this show will probably say, my goodness, I am just so proud of what's going on with Rockingham County government. Thank you so much for everything that all of you all do. To Pat Galloway, she has a great team, and you as her deputy officer, you all are doing a fantabulous job. We thank you for what you're doing, and it's all because you're in Rockingham County. It's a good place. Thanks to Justin Thacker, our deputy finance officer, and all the folks who work in the finance department.